right, students, so this next video is going to take you through objects 1 through 4. Everything you need to know to get through object 4 in this video. I want to cover a couple things that I maybe didn't explain very well in the last video, mainly just like how to navigate and get around in the software. If you make a mistake, how to fix it or delete a line. And then there's also a way, if you've already drawn something, to go back in and edit it really easily. So we're going to talk about all those things in this video. And then I'm going to show you a couple more sketching tools as well that you're going to need to know to get through number 4. All right, so let's jump into it. I'm going to demo some of these tools by talking about model number 2. So I'm actually going to walk through model number 2 step by step here. Let's jump into it. So you guys are going to be starting on this standard screen here. We're going to start a new part, so we'll go up to the top left, press new, make sure it's standard.ipt. A standard.ipt part is going to be using inches. You can see that over here. It says units are in inches. Later on, we're going to do fidget spinners, and they're going to be in millimeters. But these little sample objects that we're building, we'll do them all in inches. So you can double click on that or click on it and press create. All right, first things first, we've got to create a 2-dimensional sketch before we can give it a 3rd dimension. So to make a 2D sketch, we'll click this top left button, 2D sketch, and then we'll pick a plane. I don't care which plane you guys use for these assignments. I tend to just use that one that I just clicked on. All right, so first things first, when drawing these objects, I like to put the bottom left corner right on the origin. It really doesn't matter how you decide to do it, but this is one of the simplest ways I found. So we're going to start sketching from the bottom left corner of this front view and put that right on the origin. So I'll use my line tool here, and then I'm going to click on the origin. I'm just clicking once and letting go. I'm moving my mouse to the right, making sure that it's snapped to a straight horizontal line, and then I'm going to type in the dimension that I see on my model page. It's 1. Remember to zoom in and out. You use your scroll wheel, and then you can press the scroll wheel down like a button and drag, and that will let you pan around. So that can be really helpful. So let's say you zoom off really far and you're lost, and you can't find your spot again. There's this cube in the top right that you can click on. If I click on this, just this front face of it, it will rezoom and get my screen centered on the object that I've drawn. All right, so we went 1 inch to the right. It says 0.75 up, so I'm going to go straight up. I'm not holding my mouse button as I do this. 0.75, and then hit enter. All right, and we're going to go straight left. There's not a dimension on my paper over here, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of mental math to figure out how far that distance should be. It says here that the whole distance left to right is 1, and then it's telling me that the space from here to here is 0.5, so this leftover space must be the remainder of whatever it takes to get up to 1. So 0.5 plus what equals 1? 0.5, right? 0.5 is the dimension there. So sometimes you have to do a little mental math to figure out if you don't see a dimension listed. Same thing here, we don't see a dimension listed for how far up we should be going. So I can do a little bit of mental math there too. The entire object is 1.75 tall. I know that this section of it is 0.5 tall. That section is 0.75 tall. So that's 1.25. And 1.25 plus what would equal 1.75? It would be 0.5. So we're going to go 0.5 up. All right, one more mental math thing here. So there's no dimension listed here. The total is 0.8, left to right. From here to here is 0.5, so from here to here must be 0.3 in order to get to 0.8. So we're going to go 0.3 to the right. And then the rest of these are labeled, so I'll go 0.5 up. And then I can either type in 0.8 left, or I could honestly just snap back to this vertical line here, my guideline, because I know that's going to line up correctly. Okay, so there's my front view, correct. When I'm done drawing a front view, I can hit Finish Sketch. Now, really quick, I wanted to show you a couple things though. Let's say I messed this thing up, and you might, if you've been following along, you can go ahead and just leave this correct, but I'm going to show you what you would do if you had messed it up. So if you had messed something up, you could hit Escape on your keyboard a couple times. It'll get you out of whatever sketching tool you were using, and you'll get back to your pointer tool. With your pointer tool, you can either click on a line specifically, or you can click and drag across whatever lines you want to edit, and they'll turn blue to show you that you've selected them. Notice that if you drag a different direction, your box will turn a different color. So if you drag from left to right, your box turns pink. If you drag from right to left, your box turns green. If your box is green, anything that the box touches, even partially, will be selected completely. So like, if I just do this, I've selected almost everything there. Now, if you go with the red, if you drag left to right, it won't select anything unless it's completely covered by your selection box. So if you want to be a little bit more picky, you would drag left to right, and it would only select the things that you totally cover with that box. I tend to drag right to left more because I like to just, it's easier to just grab things this way. All right, so once you've got the thing selected that you don't want, you can hit delete on your keyboard. That's not backspace, it's the delete key. It actually says the word delete on it. It's above the arrow keys on your keyboard if you're using the lab computers. So I'm going to delete and take that out if I need to. I'm going to really quickly redraw this and then also show you what happens if I made a mistake while drawing. So let's say I went one over, but then here I accidentally didn't go far enough. I just go like 0.5 instead of 0.75. And then I'll take the rest of this through, show you. And we'll go up 0.5, snap over and down. So this is close, but it's not quite the same because this dimension here was supposed to be 0.75, and I've got it listed as 0.5. There is a way to fix that. So right now I'm in my line tool, so I can't click on anything without making a new line. And I've seen a lot of students struggling with this. They're trying to click and then they're making another line, and it's just like a disaster. So hit Escape to get out of whatever tool you were using, and then you can select stuff and delete it if you need to. There's a couple ways I can change this. One, I can double click on that dimension and I can change the dimension. I could change it to 0.75 like it's supposed to be. Something I could also do is click on the dimension tool here and then just click once on the dimension and change it. Or I'll show you one other method, a way that we can use the dimension tool. This is one of the most useful tools. It lets you edit the distance of things even after the fact. So let me show you another method that I see a lot of engineers use to draw. So the way that I just did it, you've got to be all careful and you've got to type in the numbers. Here's another method. So this will be my last time going through this object. This method, you just draw the general shape. You do need to make sure that your lines are at the correct angle to make this simple. So I'm not worrying about how big anything is, I'm just drawing the general shape, right? Sort of a C, capital C looking thing. Then I can go in with my dimension tool and I can tell everything how big it's supposed to be. So, okay, I know that's supposed to be 1.75. I know this one on the bottom is supposed to be 1.75. 0.5, 0.5, 0.3, and then that. Now this one, it's going to get mad at me. It's saying it's going to over constrain the sketch, like something's wrong. The reason why it's getting mad is because this line has to be 0.5. I don't need to tell it to be 0.5 because that's the only thing it can be because of the way we've sized every other line. This is just like the leftover, the remainder of what it would need to be to be 1.75 tall. So it'll get mad at me. It's fine, just hit cancel. Don't need to worry about it. So Couple methods then that we've talked about. You can use your line tool, you can type in your numbers and be really careful as you go. If you make a mistake, hit escape, delete a line, and you can double click on a dimension if you want to change it. Another method is the one that I just did, where you draw the general shape and then you come in with the dimension tool and make edits after the fact. Okay, so that should give you a lot of tools to work with. Okay, all right, so that's kind of like my intro on, or my recap and explaining some new things on the sketching side. To make this thing 3D, we hit Finish Sketch. That was the green check in the top right. And then we've got all of our three-dimensional tools here. Most of these are pretty advanced and not often used. We're almost always going to use extrude. It gets everything that we need done. So we'll use the extrude command, and then we will extrude this as far as we're supposed to. If I look at my drawing, you can't tell how deep this is going to be by looking straight on at this front view here. But if we look at the dimensions on the side views, you can usually tell. It's usually labeled somewhere. So this one says it's 0.5 deep, or sorry, 0.85, wow. So I'm gonna make sure that my distance A in this little properties box says 0.85. And then I can hit enter or okay, finish that object out. Now, what I like to do sometimes just to make sure that I've done the object correctly is I will orient it the same way on my screen that it is there. To do that, you can click on different corners of this cube up in the top right of your screen, and it will flip the object around to look at it from different angles. So it looks like this angle is the same one that's shown here, and looking back and forth, yeah, I've got an identical object. I definitely did that correctly. I can save this and then move on to my next object. So this one is part 2, save it somewhere as part 2. And then I can hit the new button, create a new model, and start sketching object 3. I'm not going to do that with you guys. Object 3 doesn't require any new tools. It's pretty straightforward. Object 4, we've got some curved lines, and we've got a couple of these like chopped corners. So I want to talk about how to create those here at the end of this video. So let's jump into that. I am not, well, you know what? I think I will just walk through this object completely with you guys. So the best way that I know to create this object is to sketch it as if there were no curved corners and as if there wasn't a shaved corner. Basically, draw your straight lines as if these two edges came to a point together. That'll make more sense when I show you. So I'm going to start in the bottom left corner and sketch this thing out like so. So we're going to go over 1.5. We're going to go up, it says 0.55 on our drawing. We're going to go over 1. We're going to go up 0.75, it says. And then it says 1.5 this way. And then we are going to go up. Looks like the overall height of this thing is 2. And 0.55 plus 0.75 is 1.3. So the remainder here to here must be 0.7. So we're going to go up 0.7. And then we're going to go over 1. And reconnect to the bottom. Okay, so if you look close, you can see this basically looks the same as this, but with all the corners still in place and not rounded off. So I didn't worry about rounding these, I just drew all the way through. Now we're going to go in and use some tools to round those corners and chop them. So the tools that we're going to use are called fillet and chamfer. The fillet tool is this little, it says fillet, but it's got a little curve picture on it. And there's a drop down next to it that gets you to the chamfer tool, which is a flat corner as opposed to a rounded corner. So we're going to use both of these. Let's start with fillet first. So if you click on fillet, it gives you this one little box with a number in it that you can type in the radius. On your drawing, it tells you what the radius is supposed to be for these different corners. Let's start with this one. It says radius should be 0.2. So I'm going to type in 0.2 here. And then whatever I go to click on is going to change it to a 0.2 radius circle. So The way this works is we click on the two lines that come together to form a corner, or you can click on the corner itself and it will fillet those two lines together to make the curve. So I clicked here and then here, or you could have done here and then here, doesn't matter, and it will fillet. You could also click on the corner itself and it would fillet. Okay, this other one it says is supposed to be 0.4. So I'm going to type in 0.4, click on these two edges, and it will round that one out to a 0.4 radius fillet. Okay, so it looks the same as my drawing over here. We've got kind of a bigger round and then a tighter round here. Bigger, tighter. Now I've got to do my chamfers. So I'm going to do the drop down button next to fillet and click on the chamfer tool. This one's a little more complicated. So we've got a couple options. This first option is if you're doing a chamfer that is where both sides come in the same amount. And then we've got some other options as well that involve two distances or a distance and an angle. I'll show you how that works in a second. So we'll start off, just do this single distance one. Notice down here it says that these two chamfers cut in 0.25 in either direction. So I'm just going to type in 0.25, and then I'm going to click on my two sides, and it will cut them back 0.25 and then connect them together with the diagonal line. This one up here is a little bit trickier. This one involves two distances. You can see on the page over here, 0.7 one way, and then we cut 0.3 the other way. So I'm going to click on this second button where it says that I've got two distances to put in. Let's do the first one, 0.7, the second one, 0.3. Now, the order that you click on these lines is important. The first line that you click on is going to be the 0.7 distance, and the second line you click on will be the 0.3 distance. So I'm going to click on this top line first for my 0.7, the side line for my 0.3, and it's going to chop them just like you see over here. So that's the fillet and the chamfer tool. You'll be using those some more later on some other models as well. So it looks like I've got my front view complete. I can click the green Finish Sketch button, click on Extrude, check my drawing. It says it's 1.5 thick, so we'll change that to 1.5. I hit Enter on the keyboard, and just for good measure, I'll change my view and make sure that it looks the same. And it looks like we are identical there. Sweet. Okay, so students, that should take you through object number 4, using fillets and chamfers, and give you a little bit better idea of how to work through mistakes, edit, and change things. One last thing that I want to show you before we end this video. On the left-hand side of your screen, there's this ongoing list that's going to show all the things that you've done. So far, we've only done one extrusion, so we've got one object created. If I click on the plus sign next to that extrusion, it shows the sketch that we made that created that extrusion. So if you ever messed something up and you wanted to go back in after the fact, you could double click on, like sketch 1, we could double click, and you could change one of these dimensions, hit Finish Sketch, and it would actually update through and change the way your 3D object looks. So it's never too late to go back in and change something. Also, if we had extruded too long or too short, we could double click on extrusion 1 and it will bring us back to this box again, and we could change our number if we wanted to extrude it differently than we did. 21. Maybe a little bit too long. Okay, so anyway, yeah, it was supposed to be 1.5. We had it right the first time. Okay, that is all. Thanks for watching.